Glen Beck did a segment on The Blaze talking about the Texas secession movement, saying that, it's growing in popularity and that Texas should secede from the Union and that there's a way for them to do it. Now, despite the fact that not only is there no legal grounds for secession, but there is huge precedent when it comes to secession based on the Supreme Court and based on our constitutional laws. Glen Beck still believes that Texas can secede from the Union. So let's listen to what he has to say, and then we'll talk about it.
Well, there's an effort now to have Texans vote on whether they want to secede from the United States, and it's starting to gain support. Now, I just want to go back, and I know people say, you can't secede from the Union, you can't break away. I'm sorry. That's the Supreme Court, and I know the Civil War settled it. Did it? Did it really? The Constitution and the Union, the vote to get into it, is not a suicide pact. It's not. If it's killing freedom, if I may quote, governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes. And accordingly, all experience has shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms which they are accustomed. That's what's happening now with us with COVID. We know that it's tyranny. We know that it's bad. We know that they don't really have a right to do this. But what are we going to do about it? Is that a light and transient cause? Well, if we wanted to say we're going to get out because of that, or I want to get out because of the vote, that's a light and transient cause. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and provide new guards for their future security. But see, here's the point that I think we all need to look at, and that is, what's the long train of abuses and usurpations? Because in the Declaration of Independence, there's tons of them, and they're really, really, really bad. Because, if I may go to the beginning of the Declaration of Independence, when in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with one another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind require that we should declare the causes that impel us to that separation. So we have to be very clear on the causes. So what are those causes?
What are they, Glenn? What are the causes for secession? I love how he thinks he's so smart by talking about the Declaration of Independence. Love it. Because he says, at the beginning of the video, he says, succession, they say it was determined already, but that was the Supreme Court. It wasn't the Constitution, it was the Supreme Court that said that you could not secede. The Supreme Court says you could not secede. Well, if that's true, okay, Glenn, I'll allow that. So it's the Supreme Court. It wasn't actually the Constitution, it was the Supreme Court. Okay, show me where in the Constitution it says you can secede from the Union. Show me where. What article? So he says, we have to go back to the precedent set by the Declaration of Independence. The Declaration of Independence says you can secede for tyranny. Yes. COVID, mask, tyranny. Taking down Confederate flags off public property, tyranny, all these terrible things that people are doing that are threatening my freedom. Really? That's the best thing you have? The Declaration of Independence was a letter to King George from the Founding Fathers declaring independence. The Declaration has no legal value whatsoever. It's not a legally binding document. There's nothing legally binding about the Declaration of Independence whatsoever. Any lawyer will tell you this. Any constitutional scholar, anybody who went through, anybody who had an 8th grade education could tell you that the Declaration of Independence was not a legally binding document. And yet he's using the Declaration of Independence to try to say that Texas can secede because, look, tyranny is here in the Declaration. That's not a legally binding document. Now, what I think is so funny is that they always say, oh, well, it wasn't the Constitution. It was the Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court made this decision. Ha, 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 ha. It's not real. It's not a real law. Whatever the Supreme Court dictates is the law of the land. This has been so ever since the court's inception. The reason why we have a court is because you cannot cover every little legal thing in one document. Even with the amendments that we do have, there's the law and then there's interpretations of the law. The Supreme Court was created to try to have an objective interpretation of the law. Now, obviously, it's not going to be objective because the court is part of politics and everything is political. But to say that there's no law that says you can't secede because it's not in the Constitution, it's only in the Supreme Court, that's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And it's not true. This is very disingenuous to say that, oh, well, we can still secede. The Supreme Court doesn't matter. The Supreme Court is the highest court in the land, okay? So if they say you can't secede, I'm sorry, man, you can't secede. It's funny how when it's things like this, or anything they don't like, gay marriage, Roe versus Wade, secession. Oh, the Supreme Court said it. It's not in our laws or Constitution. It was just an executive Supreme Court decision. Okay, but anything that benefits you, like tomorrow, if Amy Coney Barrett and Chief Justice Roberts and the Republican coalition voted to overturn Roe versus Wade, you would say, oh, it's the law. You got to follow the law. They're making the laws. You got to follow the laws. We made a law. The people have spoken. The justices have been appointed, and now abortion is illegal. So, tee-hee, follow the law. It's very hypocritical. Very, very hypocritical. It's really a bad argument to use, number one. Number two, on the one hand, you're saying, oh, we need people in the Supreme Court. We need them in the Supreme Court. Conservative. We need a conservative court. But on the other hand, when you don't like a court's decision, the court doesn't matter. It's illegitimate because it's not really the law. It's just a dictatorship making rules. So, no, Glenn, you cannot secede. Texas can't secede. I'm sorry. I mean, I know a lot of people think it's exciting. They would love to see, the second Texas Republic or whatever. Sorry, not going to happen. Barring the entire country just collapsing and falling apart into several different states, you're not going to secede legally. The only way this country is going to break apart is if the country just collapses from within and there's a bunch of different independent states, or there's a vote in the Supreme Court or in Congress to pass a law to allow secession. And I don't see either one of those happening in the near future. So, tough luck, Glenn. You're just going to have to stick it out with the old US of A, for the foreseeable future.